Alright, so I didn't write a script for my last video. It was the first time that I uploaded a video that I didn't write a script for, and I think I'm gonna keep doing it. And there are three main reasons that I want to try making videos this way. The first reason isn't very noble, and it can probably be classified as downright lazy. The second reason is just sad. And the third reason is the only one that I should be making publicly known because it doesn't make me look so pathetic. But I have a pretty poor understanding of the concepts of TMI and oversharing, so here we go. So the first reason that I want to kind of move away from scripted videos is because I don't like writing. And not only do I not like it, I'm just bad at it. I don't know, it's just the process of articulating my thoughts is already difficult enough for me without adding a whole extra step in the middle. I don't know, I think, so one of my favorite channels on YouTube is this channel called Girlfriend Reviews, and an oversimplistic summary of that channel is basically this guy and his girlfriend are reviewing video games. At one point, he talks about how he got a degree in creative writing, and how the process of taking your thoughts and accurately putting them down on paper is a skill, and it's something that requires training.
Yeah, a lot of people were disappointed to find out that I write the scripts, but don't be. It's simply because turning your thoughts and feelings into words is a really tedious task that I love and earned a degree for doing.
And of course, just like every skill, there are some people who have a natural talent for that skill, and there are others who don't. And I feel like I'm one of the people who don't. And not only do I not have the skill, I also just don't enjoy the process. I mean, over the last 10 months, I've made 20-something videos, all of which I wrote scripts for, except for my last one. And so I would say that sure, I've improved somewhat in my script writing capabilities, but I still never started to actually enjoy the process of writing a script for a video. It was always something that I just had to do because I enjoy the overall end product of putting out a video, but it is the part of the process that I enjoyed the least. And so even as I was writing, I was always thinking of a way to not have to do that. And so now I'm just gonna not do it anymore. And yeah, I mean, that could be described as just being lazy. I mean, if you put it in any other context, then yeah, this is just being lazy. I mean, one of my sisters is a doctor, and she absolutely loves the actual being a doctor part of being a doctor. The one-on-one time, the diagnosing, the prescribing, the end result where you actually help somebody, all of that good stuff. But she can't stand the administrative part, you know, having to deal with what medicines you can or can't prescribe because some company somewhere wants you to prescribe more of this, and all the paperwork that goes on because there's so much liability, and all of that is just tedium for her, but she has to do it because that's part of what being a doctor is nowadays. And so to make the analogy work, the writing portion for me is basically all of that administrative stuff that she has to do, but she doesn't get to just be like, I don't want to do it, so I'm not going to do it. But that's exactly what I'm doing. And I think it's like that for a lot of people's dream jobs. Most people will say that there are aspects of their job, even if it's their dream job, that they just have to deal with, that they just have to put up with so that they can get to do their dream job. And for me, that's how I thought about writing. Oh man, I just got to do this so that I can shoot and edit and put out the video, which is actually the best part for me. And now I'm just being like, no, I'm not gonna do it. So yeah, reason number one, laziness. Now, as bad as that reason is, it's not quite as terrible as reason number two. So I mentioned this before, but I basically took a 10-year hiatus from socially interacting with people willingly. Obviously, I didn't go live out on a mountain somewhere and become a hermit and literally not talk to anybody for 10 years. No, I was still forced to interact with people, but it was all just that. Forced interaction. And the result of that is that now I deal with crippling social anxiety. Now, over the past 10 months, I've tried to address this. And personally, I think one of the only ways to address this is by putting myself in more social situations. So there's this part from Game of Thrones where Tywin is talking about how his son, Jaime, had dyslexia and what he did to cure him of his dyslexia.
Taught my son Jaime to read. Maester came to me one day, told me he wasn't learning. He couldn't make sense of the letters. He reversed them in his head. Maester said he'd heard tell of this affliction, and that we simply must accept it. Huh. After that, I sat Jaime down for 4 hours every day until he learned. He hated me for it, for a time, for a long time. But he learned,
Now, obviously, I don't think this is the cure for all things. Like, somebody can't do something or doesn't like doing something, so I'm just going to force them to do that thing over and over and over until they can. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a therapist. I don't know if that works for all things. But I do think that there's a little bit of truth there, at least for me, in terms of how to address my own personal social anxiety. So I need to be in more social situations in order to get over my anxiety. But we're in a pandemic. And not only that, if you take a 10-year hiatus from talking to people, the people that you used to know 10 years ago are understandably gonna move on with their lives and may not be available to just hang out or catch up or whatever. And so I don't really have that many options to engage with socially anymore. So the combination of those two things, pandemic and not that many friends, means that I can't actually put myself in that many social situations in order to address this anxiety. And so I kind of use this whole process as a substitution. I told you this is very sad, but here's what I mean. I want to try and get better at being able to articulate my thoughts accurately. When you're in a conversation with someone, you don't have time to go back, write down a response or write down your thoughts and then deliver it to them. No, you have a thought and you say it and you hope that it comes out how you meant it in your head. And so by eliminating the writing process, I'm trying to practice having something that I'm thinking about or dealing with and just being able to articulate it straight without having to go back and write about it for 4 or 5 days before delivering it. It's about being able to just speak from a stream of consciousness. And yeah, ultimately I still get to go back and edit this. And if you could see the footage, which I will not show you, you will see between probably every 5 or 6 words me taking 30 or 40 seconds to think about what I'm gonna say next. But I'm hoping that that's just because I'm still pretty new at this and not good yet, and that eventually I'll be able to just deliver what I'm trying to say without taking 20, 30, 40 seconds, 5, 10 minutes between sentences. But I don't know. We'll see if that happens. But yeah, so that's reason number 2. Just using a camera as a substitution for actual human interaction. And so reason number 3, the one I should have started and ended with, is because I think this will actually drastically increase my production capabilities. The last video I put out took me 1 day to make. I woke up, did my morning routine, came here, shot what I needed to shoot, and then I went and I edited the video. Now, I didn't add a lot to the actual video. I didn't embellish it with clips or sound effects or music or cut-ins and cutouts. So it was a pretty easy edit. But still, even if I did want to add all of that, the turnaround from shooting to editing would have probably taken me 2 or 3 days tops. Whereas before, that whole process would take me a whole week, which is why I was only putting out 1 video a week, and that was on Sundays. And that's because the writing process would take me probably 2 to 3 days alone. Like I said, I'm not good at writing, so I would write the first draft usually on a Monday, and that process was always difficult because I would have an idea of where I would have an idea of what I wanted to say, but as I would start writing, I would sometimes get lost in the actual writing process and forget what I initially wanted to say. And so as I'm writing it, the script itself starts to transform my original idea. And a lot of times this was for the better. I can't lie. I might say something that I didn't intentionally mean to say, but still resonated with me. But a lot of the times the original thought that I had that made me want to write in the first place got lost. And sometimes I wouldn't even finish the first draft on the first day. It might leak into the second day. But then after I finish the first draft, I have to then go back and edit. And that's another part of the process that could change what I was trying to say from the beginning. I mean, if I go back to the writer's block video that I made, that's basically what happened for a month. I would write and I would write and I would write and I'd be like, okay, I think I got somewhere. And then I'd go back to edit the next day and be like, I can't believe I thought any of this was usable. And so I would scratch all that and then start writing again. And it was basically just rinse and repeat for a month. But now it's like I come in with an idea and I immediately just say it. Obviously, I like rehearse a little bit just to make sure that I know what I'm trying to say and I'm gonna hit all my points. But I don't give myself the opportunity to get lost in the writing process. And I don't have to dwell on this thing that I feel such a strong urge to talk about for longer than I have that urge to talk about it. Sometimes I would start writing about something that was so important to me, but by the third or fourth day of writing about it, it's just not as prominent in me. And so it actually get tedious to write about it. And there have been so many times where that happens, and so I'll scrap it and then I'll start writing something else, but by that point it's already Thursday or Friday, and so there's no way I'm gonna get a video out by Sunday like I was trying to do for so long. And so basically all of this helps me to avoid all of that. I can talk about what's important to me immediately, and I can up my production capability in that I can hopefully put out many more videos a week. And also, like I said, my favorite part about this process is the editing, and hopefully the more time I spend editing, the more tricks I'll learn and the better I'll become. So this will allow me to spend more time doing just that instead of wasting 4 or 5 days on just writing. So yeah, those are kind of my 3 reasons. And I say all this knowing that next week I could be like, well, that didn't work, and go right back to writing scripts for all of my videos. I should be a little bit more balanced. There are pros and cons of both. And this video is basically me listing all the pros of doing it unscripted and all the cons of doing it scripted. But there are plenty of pros to doing it scripted as well, and there are lots of cons to doing it unscripted. But since this is what I want to do right now, I'm not going to think about that. There are a bunch of other little reasons as well why I want to try doing it this way, but I don't want to make this an hour-long video, so I'm only focusing on the 3 biggest ones. But yeah, I think that's going to be it for this one. If you made it this far, I really appreciate you watching. It's still definitely my goal to talk less and less about myself and more about, you know, things that actually matter. But unfortunately, there are just so many things wrong with me, and this is probably the best way for me to deal with and address those things. So I have to do this, at least for now. So I really mean it. If you're watching, I really, really appreciate it. But anyway, with that said, I wish you all the best going forward. Take care of yourself, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.